Amplifier stuff. Smoke, right there, 105, 2 power. All right, sit tight. We'll get to you as soon as we can. There's just staying up at the smoke right there, man. I barely need. That's all we can do. Where are you? What's you guys up to? We're getting there. Hello? Hello? We're looking at financial center. The three of us, 2 broken windows. Oh, God!
On that day, the sky was the bluest I have ever seen, and I have not seen it that blue since. I worked on the 68th floor, and when we heard the plane hit the first tower, we didn't know it was a plane. We thought one of the air conditioning units went haywire because we just saw dust. So we just said, all right, we're gonna get out. And then as we were making our way out, you could smell the airplane fuel. And that's my first sense is when I knew there was something wrong. And I got into an elevator to the 43rd, where they put us in a stairwell. I got out like on the 19th floor because I started to have a panic attack because it was so crowded and hot. And when I got out, there was an elderly man who reminded me of my grandfather. And he said, come on, honey, come with us. We'll get you down to the ground because they were holding an elevator, one of the last elevators that were working. When we got to the lobby is when the plane hit my tower. And I was last one out of the elevator, and that elevator door never opened up again. And when I went to go out to the plaza, you couldn't. It was just covered in debris from the plane, the building, and of course, the people that it hit. When I looked up in the air, you saw the people jumping. And you just knew that it was horrific above those floors, that they couldn't get down. They always say New Yorkers are hard, tough, and not caring. But we all cared for each other. We all helped each other get out of the building. And I had to walk from the World Trade Center all the way up to 34th Street. I was in Chinatown when the building came down, and you just saw this dust cloud roll down the street. Your cell phone didn't work. Nothing worked because Tower 1 had the cell phone tower. And when they hit, all of that was gone. So when you were walking uptown, all you saw was cell phones laying on the floor. My family tried to get me. Nobody knew if I made it out or not. And then people were saying the Pentagon was hit. And I'm just going, no way. Who would ever do that to our country?
Well, I'm sitting there on Pentagon at Dunkin' Donuts. We do what we normally do. We just have a casual conversation, find out how the day or the weekend went. Shortly after, one of his co-workers rather, came and said, it was talking about the Twin Towers. Twin Towers had been hit. And we was actually gonna walk back to his office to see it. And by the time we got there, that's when the second plane hit, and we was watching it on the news. And then later, there was a big shock and rumble in the Pentagon. And we were trying to figure out what that was. We actually walked out, and all you see is people running. There was smoke, there was debris, there was bodies, blood. Pentagon's a big place, it's not small. And for something to shake it, that's kind of unnerving. It was like a movie scene that you would see where it's just stuff blowing up, stuff, falling, and, people asking for help, legs may be dislocated or something like that. When I knew it was a coordinated terrorist attack, which is something we didn't really find out until later on that day. I felt like, most Americans or most soldiers, angry, and was ready to, retaliate, to defend the country.
On September 11th, 2001, I was 19 years old and just graduated infantry basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. The drill sergeant called everybody to attention and then gave this impassioned speech. He said, "Your country has been attacked and you are going to war. Maybe not today and maybe not tomorrow, but you're going to war."
I was a second-year civilian instructor, so I was really only beginning to understand the sacrifices that military members and military families make. As the day went on, knowing that my students, my colleagues, were now facing a much different future, it was paradigm shifting.
Since 9/11, I've deployed 3 times to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria.
18 months later, me and 1,000 of my closest airborne buddies were parachuting into northern Iraq in 2003.
"9/11 is still with us. I mean, 9/11 has shaped the last 20 years of the world that we live in.
I wasn't even old enough to remember the event, and obviously I wasn't there, but it was a foreshadow of my entire childhood, and I think a lot of people in the tri-state area.
My father was a lieutenant in the FDNY from Rockaway Beach, New York. He immediately rushed into the city to go and help. He worked for 6 weeks on the pile. My mom said when he came home that she could barely see his eyes because there was so much dust. And I think seeing how throughout my life, how it still so strongly affected my father, it played a big role in my decision to come to West Point.
This is our Pearl Harbor. And when I went to school, I only knew about Pearl Harbor because it was taught to me in history. And this is what 9/11 is becoming now. A lot of people are forgetting about it. And we shouldn't.